And if you understand where they're coming from, their wants, their needs, their struggles, really it's just, how can I help you with your wants, your needs, your struggles? Sports because we're passionate about it, and because as a kid, you know, you played it or maybe you watched it, and that was kind of your time to get away from everything else happening in life, right? It was your escape. So to be able to work with multiple individuals that are like-minded, who are passionate about sports, who love what you love, who have the same type of interests, that come from all different, you know, walks of life. It makes it fun, interesting. You learn new things each and every day. So it's great.
I'm kind of jealous of this job that Ryan has. Go ahead, Shane.
We've mentioned these sponsorships. Maybe some of the people out there don't really understand what a sponsorship is. We knew a little bit about what we are getting ourselves into, but until we had a conversation with you, maybe we didn't understand exactly how a sponsorship works and why it's a good marketing.
Well, I kind of knew because I went to business school and I took some classes.
I mean, throwing fire.
I also went to business school. I know you have an MBA, but...
Wow.
I'm just kidding. I just didn't want people to think like we don't know anything. So go ahead.
Didn't know what a sponsorship was. It was really just leading questions. So the viewers out there who maybe don't know, who didn't go to business school, maybe we can tell them a little bit about what a sponsorship is and why it's a good marketing tactic.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I know sometimes I refer to it as sponsorship. I like to refer to it, and I should get this into my vocabulary. Yeah, as a partnership, right? Because we want it to be a mutually beneficial relationship. At the end of the day, it's a different type of advertising, right? So think of this as when I'm selling sponsorships, right, or partnerships, it typically comes out of a company's marketing budget, right? How are they going to advertise? Who are they looking to advertise to? And when it comes to professional sports, when we sell sponsorship packages or partnership packages, it's really focused on getting your brand in front of the masses, right? And it really needs to make sense for the company as well. So are the people who are attending Rowdy's games, is that who your target market is, right? So our demographic might be a little bit different than the Rays demographic, and a little bit different than the Bucks demographic, and a little bit different than the Lightning demographic. So we're very unique in the sense that the demographic that attends Rowdy's games, you have a lot of young professionals who live in downtown St. Pete, a lot of entrepreneurs. You have a lot of young families with kids that play youth soccer or youth sports. But then you also have a lot of small business owners and a lot of corporations that buy seats or season tickets to entertain clients or to use to reward their employees. So you're getting in front of a variety of individuals, right? So it allows companies to advertise to these different demographics. And there's certain things that some partners will do that focus directly on the young professionals, right? So a bar or restaurant might focus on promoting drink specials at the game. So one of our partners, if you bring your ticket to their location after the game, you get a free drink, right? And all of their signage around the stadium, it reflects that offer, right? It's to drive traffic to their establishment. Some of our national brands, for them, it's more about just getting eyeballs on their brand, right? Getting their logo out there as much as possible. So when you're driving down the highway on the way home from work at night and you're thinking, okay, I got to go to the grocery store and pick something up to eat or to drink while I watch the game tonight, what am I thinking about, right? So it's all about impressions. So whether it's beverage, whether it's food, whatever it might be, right? And then there's other companies like Kapok Marketing, right? Digital advertising agency, right, with different arms.
Yeah, and in our case, we kind of just wanted to build our brand within the local community.
Right.
And not only, of course, we want to target, small business decision makers, but we also wanted just the entire St. Pete or the Tampa Bay area to know that we exist.
And it's a great way to get your name out there, right? You have every game, you have over 6,000 people in a building with eyeballs watching the field, right? The field of play, but with signage all around it, right? So the visibility that you receive with that, the ability to get in front of that many people at one time, 17 different times throughout the year, is great. And now just the way that advertising works, right? Like our social media platforms, right? We have one of the best followings in the USL. So that's the league that the Rowdies play in. Being able to post things and tag Kapok Marketing, right? Whether it's Trivia Tuesday, where you get people interacting, following your Facebook page, and just getting your name out there. People start to become familiar with that. I can't tell you how many times last year the people who won the Trivia Tuesday, the tickets and the swag bags, they would say, I never heard of Kapok Marketing. And then the next time I'd see them at a game, they'd say, you know what? I went to their website afterwards and I checked it out just to see what they're about, right? And that's what it's about. It's to drive traffic. They may never become customers, right? At the end of the day, and that's okay.
Yeah.
They may never buy something or become a customer even within a year or two, but it's all about repetition, getting your brand in front of individuals. Maybe they speak to somebody and they're saying, maybe their friend's a small business owner or just a business owner in general, and they're saying, hey, listen, we need some help, in our digital space, just through casual conversation. Somebody might say, hey, listen, I go to the Rowdies game all the time. I'm a season ticket holder. I see signage for this Kapok Marketing.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure what they do, but check them out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I
People talk
agree.
to each other.
Yeah.
People do. And there's also a little bit of a cool factor to it too, to tell
Absolutely.
someone, oh, I'm sponsoring this local team, and it feels kind of nice to tell people. And
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I think it's a little bit cool, maybe a lot cool. I don't know.
And I think branding is underrated especially amongst small businesses. There's a reason all of the biggest company are engaged in branding campaigns.
Yeah. But I think it's not taken as seriously a lot of times because it's so intangible. And a lot of small businesses think like, I have X number of dollars to spend. I want to know exactly how much money I'm getting in return for this. And in terms of brandings, you might not get any of that back.
Correct.
It's just, you're just building equity in your brand. And
There are metrics that you can follow. Like we make sure to ask, like a lot of people that we mentioned, oh, you've been to a Rowdies game. Did you see, our advertising and stuff like that? Or people we interview, have you, and you can get an idea about,
Absolutely.
you can get an idea, but it doesn't always translate to sales or to close deals, and that's okay.
And I think that's why at the end of the day, as we go through our sales process, especially when it comes to corporate partnerships and professional sports, the biggest thing is learning your customers' needs.
Yes.
What are your marketing objectives? What are you looking to accomplish with this? And then based on what you're telling me, this is how we can help you meet your goals or reach your goals, right? And I think if you do that and you do it well, and you listen, it really everybody thinks sales comes down to presenting and talking.
It's listening.
It's really listening, right? My boss once told me, he said, you have 2 ears, 1 mouth. Use them proportionally, right?
Yeah.
That's true.
So just think about it.
Yeah.
And then I think the other thing is when it just comes to speaking to clients, right? The ones that say, hey, listen, we only have this much money in our budget. We don't know if we want to use it here, if we want to use it at all, right? Just something that I have used in the past. I don't use it with every client, right? It needs to be if I feel strongly that they are a good fit for what we're doing, my response to that will be, what's a client worth to you?
Most
right?
people don't know that, though. It's
Right.
a dangerous
It
question.
It is a dangerous question, right?
Everyone's like,
But it's kind of like, okay, if through this advertising arm, using the Rowdies, if I can help get your name out there and let's say you advertise with us, whether it's 1 year or for 5 years, right? Let's say your overall investment over a 5-year period, let's just say is $100,000. But in the 10-year long, in the next 10 years, you end up generating $300,000 from advertising at Rowdy's because you got one new customer who has become a repeat customer who has introduced you to other customers.
Which is the best type of customer.
Right? Referrals, right? Would you do it? If you know, of course you do it, 100%. But that's the thing. Sometimes people get, it's a risk, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the best move for me, right? So that's where it's a saturated market. You have opportunities to advertise with other professional sports teams. You have opportunities to advertise through other channels, right?
I know.
So it's really what makes the most sense. What makes the most sense not only for the company, but for their marketing objectives, for their budget. And if you listen, you'll be able to put something together that hopefully helps them out. Listen, at the end of the day, if I'm not helping a client out and they're going to come back to me the next year or 2 years later and say, this wasn't a good fit for us, thanks, but no thanks, then I didn't do my job.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a reflection on me. Right? Do you sense the pressure that I'm putting on Kapok Marketing
I'm
as we move towards the 2019
But I'm like Teflon
season?
Dawn. I'm not like
I know you are.
that stuff is like falling off.
Morel's going to sell you on something in this process.
Good.
I've been reading that Zig Ziglar. No, but I actually read his book like back in the day.
Right.
And I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
And,
He's really good.
Yeah. But some of
He's
it,
old school, right?
He's
Some
old
of it's
school,
a little cheesy.
But like the gist of it, I think, is legit. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about anything else in terms of sponsorships or?
No, if you have any questions.
I guess we should talk about like professional selling and like what is it and what is Ryan's secret sauce? You talked about listening and looking for what the client wants. And
Yeah.
So, what is professional selling?
Yeah, so really when I speak to any client, regardless of who they are, business, an individual, and I guess the third bucket that I throw into there, which really is business, but is nonprofit organization, right?
Yeah.
Is I think about what are people looking to achieve each and every day. So it sounds like an easy question, but then if I said, write down what somebody's looking to achieve each and every day, right? You might get, 5 or 10 things.
Yeah.
Right. But if you really think about it, you could get hundreds for each one. Right. So like one thing that I was taught when I first got into ticket sales and professional selling, what's something that people want to achieve? They want to be happy every day.
True.
Right. They want to spend quality time, usually with the people that they enjoy being around. Right. They want to have a good time, but most people want to save money while they're having a good time, right?
Yeah,
so these are just some examples, right, of an individual nonprofit organization or somebody who runs a nonprofit organization. They obviously want to collect donations. They want to get their name out there. They want exposure in the community. They want a good reputation in the community. That's a big thing, right? If you talk about a business, maybe they want to expand their footprint. Maybe they want to increase sales, decrease costs. I mean, these are just some of the obvious ones, right? But regardless of what we sell and regardless of what package we put together, whether I'm in sports sponsorship sales, whether I'm in insurance sales, whether I'm in real estate, right? You can focus on each of those different areas with individuals, right? So if you focus on those things, you hone in on them, right? And you explain to somebody, because you can do a good job of listening to maybe where there's some gaps and where you can help out. But if I can help you have a fun time with your family members or with your friends that you want to spend quality time with at a Rowdy's game and help you save money, right? And we're hitting 3 or 4 different things that you're looking to achieve daily, then I can tell you, right? At the end of the day, if I'm speaking to a business that's looking to expand their footprint, right? Beat the competition, maybe even increase the size of their company. Well, how do you increase the size of your company? You got to sell, right? You need money coming in order to bring in more people to continue to grow.
Yeah.
So growth of the company, right? If I can focus on some of those specific areas, as I listen to what they have to say, then I think there's a really good chance that if you address each of those things, you can sell an individual, right? So I wouldn't say, a lot of people think sales is like this scripted outline, right? You go in and it's like,
hit your points.
Yeah,
and
I'm going to pitch somebody on that, right?
Yeah.
When you can always tell if you've bought life insurance or health insurance before, they don't just come in and say, this is the best option for you. They ask you like 30 questions.
Yeah.
They get to know you. Think of yourself almost like a doctor. You go to the doctor. If I just went into the doctor and waited in the doctor's office, doctor comes in and says, okay, good seeing you today. Here's a prescription. Of course, they don't just give you a prescription, right? They need to know what's hurting, what are your ailments, what are your symptoms. They might ask, your dietary, issues over the last, maybe for me, it's dietary issues because I eat unhealthy.
Oh yeah, Ryan likes sprinkles and ice cream or whatever.
Yeah, I'm a foodie. And I have a sweet tooth. So, but my point is, at the end of the day, you have to ask a lot of questions. You have to know the client. You almost want to know the client as well as, you're never going to know it as much as they know their product, but you want to know as much as possible. And if you understand where they're coming from, their wants, their needs, their struggles, really it's just, how can I help you with your wants, your needs, your struggles?
Yeah.
And filling in those gaps. And then all of a sudden, you're building a relationship with the individual. You're building rapport.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, it's all about relationships.
Yeah.
People aren't going to buy from me if they don't like me,
That's
if
true.
they don't trust me,
That's
and if
true.
there's not some type of rapport relationship there. So by the time we get to the sales process, I shouldn't say the sales process, that's part of it, the presentation,
Yeah.
it's almost not really even a presentation in terms of like getting up. It's like the movies would show it, getting up in front of somebody and having this huge PowerPoint. Like, you can still put that together for them to look over, but it's really just a conversation. Morella and Jake, this is how I think we can help you, right? And filling in the gaps based on what you told me. And if they come back with, I'm not quite sure about this, right? I don't know if this necessarily makes sense. Then I will revert to and go back to, okay, well, based on our conversation, you said this, this, and this. So maybe I'm missing something
So it's
here.
back on us now.
Is there something? No, but is there something else that I'm missing, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't dig deep enough in a certain area. So that's kind of how the process works out. But at the end of the day, it's relationships.
Yeah,
right?
it's true. I recently read in some book. Oh, actually, I think it was this book, The Art of Choosing, and it talks about how every single person wants other people to see them the way that they see themselves. And that's like the biggest thing and the most important thing for everyone. So if you can make someone feel like you see them the way that they see themselves, they love you.
Yeah.
And now you're like one of their favorite people and they want to do business with you.
Right.
So I'm guessing that sales is kind of a little bit like that.
Yeah, and it's interesting, a lot of times when you first meet with an individual, they have their guard up and their walls are up. And the first time you sit down with them, it's the conversation, not saying that it's awkward, but you can almost tell like, ooh, this person doesn't trust me, right? But as you start opening up about yourself, right, asking questions and showing that I really have an interest in you. I don't want to just talk about me. I'm not here to talk about me. I'm here to learn about you. There isn't one person I've ever met that doesn't like talking about themselves at the end of the day, right?
Because really, we're all selfish deep down.
And it's not,
Right?
but it's not only that. It's that if you're in an, you meet with somebody, they have their guard up. They don't know what to talk about because you don't know, they might not know what they even have in common with you, or is this guy just trying to sell me something, right, and just get my money? So if I start asking about you and learning about you and showing an interest in you and learning a little bit about your background and maybe where you went to school or your upbringing. Or, I mean, one of my favorite things about this job is when I meet with an owner, like, how did you get to where you are?
Yeah.
Right? Tell me your story.
Yeah.
Because that's something that, you know, I'm trying to learn something new each and every day as well. And I just think that that's a very important part of the process, right?
That's true.
So if you show interest in them, if you ask good questions and really you put them first, then you get them talking and you kind of break the ice.
That's
you
true.
start to build the trust and reputation.
So do you think that these things also apply to a very small, like, mom and pop store that's selling like cookies and
Absolutely.
ice cream, and like, can like small business owners take this and like make something out of it, I guess?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look at it, so many small mom and pop stores along Central Avenue, right?
Yeah.
They have customers that probably are repeat customers each and every day, loyal customers.
Yeah.
And I would say most of them are going in there. One, there's probably a product that they like, but two, they feel comfortable.
Yep.
It's the way that they're treated, maybe the way that they're greeted, the relationship that they have with the individuals. Listen, I go to Kawa Coffee all the time.
I
right?
know.
All the time.
I can make coffee here, but
I know you can.
it's that banana bread.
But I feel bad saying this. There's one guy there. I don't even know his name, which is really sad since I'm a sales
He's going
guy.
to be watching this, right?
Yeah, right. But I go there every morning and we talk about the same thing every morning. It's almost like an update. He recaps me on what happened the
And you
night
don't know his
before in
name?
sports. No.
Okay,
we
so
just talk.
tomorrow when you go in, you got to ask him for his
I will.
name.
I will. But by the time I get to the counter, he has my coffee ready to go. Like, he knows what I want. I enjoy the people in there. I see people that I know in there. I enjoy the vibe. I support local businesses, right?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where, I think it applies to everyone and anyone, whether you're in a large corporation, a small business, even if you just work for yourself, by yourself.
Yeah.
Right? You have customers, one, because you have a product that they need, but two, because of you.
Because of you, yeah.
Right?
If you are a no good person, no one wants to be associated with that.
I don't want to work with you.
Exactly.
Yep.
Unless you're like a monopoly and then no one else
You're
has.
the power plant.
Yeah.
Unless you have something that I really, really need.
Yeah, it's like,
or
okay,
want, and it's like, okay,
fine.
I'll deal with it. Here's the card.
Yeah, but other than that, like, you really have to like the person, and But yeah, I'm just like you. I mean, I can make coffee here in our break room, but when that 3:00 for me hits, I'm like, oh, I really want like a kawa or like a craft cafe coffee and some type of a dessert, and I go and I spend my money, and it's just something. I enjoyed the experience,
Right.
and so you're right.
Yeah. So I think it really does. It really applies to anyone and everyone who's involved in business, right? In relationships, it's something, some people are good at relationships, some people aren't good at relationships, right? But at the end of the day, it's really treating others how you want to be treated. You know, just think, if you go to a social event, it always feels good when somebody approaches you, introduces themselves to you if you don't know anyone.
Like, takes the pressure off.
Yep. And starts asking questions about yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of going to an event where which we know, right? Go to networking events, you have all your little cliques, which, you know, that happens and that's fine. But if I go to that event and somebody just comes up to me and they're just talking about themselves the whole time, it's like, ugh, who's this guy?
Exactly.
But if somebody comes up to me and starts asking me questions about what I do, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, there's a comfort level there.
I know.
Right? And then you start talking to them and you learn about them. Next thing you know, they're introducing you to other individuals. And really, that's business, right?
I know.
Just doing business with people that you know, you like,
I
you
know.
enjoy.
Otherwise, it's just miserable.
It is. Life's too short to be miserable.
You're right. You're right.
Right.
Oh my gosh. Well, is there anything else that we should have talked about?
Is there anything we should have asked you about, but we haven't?
No.
Do you
All
want
right.
to talk more about yourself and like tell us more stuff? Since we talked about how people like talking about themselves, or should we?
See,
start
you have to
talking-
ask me open-ended questions, right?
No,
right.
okay.
So if someone wanted to get in touch with
Yeah.
you, or they were interested in doing a sponsorship with the Rowdies or the Rays, or if anyone out there is interested in any of that stuff, how would they get in touch with you?
Yep. So they can contact me via my email or my office line. So my office line is 727-318-1131. And my email is Helfrick, Hel as in Larry, F as in Frank, RICK at rowdiessoccer.com. And if you go on rowdiessoccer.com website, all my contact information's on there under staff, and you can reach out to me.
They can also find you on LinkedIn, I think.
And you can also
I
find
think
me on
that's
LinkedIn.
the only social media place that you're on.
People
know
have
you
tried
have a-
stalking me. You can't find any info on me. Not going to.
But I have a feeling that you have secret profiles under like Bob Smith or something.
That is incorrect. However, I am on LinkedIn quite often. So,
Okay.
and I even encourage individuals, just if they have questions about business in general, not saying that I know all on it, right? I'm far from knowing everything that I need to know. But, if you have questions regarding breaking into professional sports industry, if it sounds fun, or something that would be of interest to you, or just learning more about how the business works, the ins and outs of it from a professional sports standpoint, more than happy to speak with you. If you're interested in a partnership, I'm even more interested in speaking with you.
Now that we're talking money.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us today, Ryan. I think you've provided everyone a lot of useful information.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you, Ryan. This was good.
Good.
Hopefully we have some good material. Otherwise, we're going to have to do this again.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. That's it.
All right, let's wrap this up.